Hey, it's me, HEC3, also known as Hampton Edward Conway III, better known as Lil Hamp, and sometimes known as Shorty Coco. This is the Get Fat Podcast. That's right, Get Fat, F.A.T, freedom and transformation. And well, frankly, I have a confession.
These are my confessions.
It has been quite some time since I've done a podcast, and I intend to tell y'all why. So just hold tight while we get into this. Some of you know that I am a contributing author in a book. The book is called For Such a Time as This. And some months ago, I put it out on social media and shared family and friends about the fact that I was going to be featured in this book. I have one chapter out of 20 chapters in this book. And the book, as you see on this graphic, actually won several awards. Got Amazon bestseller awards in several categories. And the part that I have to confess to you is that, first of all, to all the people that supported me, to all the people that bought books, that encouraged me through the process, thank you. But what I must confess is I straight punked out. I mean, I straight punked all the way out regarding this book. I got into it because a friend of mine encouraged me to do it. My wife encouraged me to do it. And once I started doing it, the people that were involved were very encouraging, and I was excited about it at first. And so that's what was happening. You know, I went through the process and working with Pastor Paulette Harper, who was the visionary for the book, and our coach throughout the process. And it got to a point where, like, my excitement wore off, and primarily, I think I just became very, very intimidated by the idea of revealing certain parts of my life to the world. You may say, but Hamp, you got a podcast and you're doing it through your podcast. Yes, I am. And that's something I've just been really pushing myself to do. But it was just something. And so just to give you some backstory, like, I have been doing some education and advocacy and public speaking around the topic of domestic violence, intimate partner violence, domestic abuse. And so, you know, I've done that for some time, for some years, but there was something extra intimidating about putting my story on paper and then revealing that to the world. I don't know. It was just something really different about it. And for whatever particular reason, lately, to be honest, I have really, really been struggling with insecurity, like bad. And so when it came time to even actually write my chapter, I waited to the last minute. I wrote my chapter, you know, it was due at a particular day. I stayed up the night before and wrote my chapter all at once. Now, thank God that he kind of, I feel like, just gave me the words and helped me sort out. Because it's really hard to tell my story and that particular story of my life in a chapter. And so it was very hard to get it all in to one chapter. But so even then, like, I really had only followed through because I'd already put it out there to people that I was doing it. Honestly, had I not put it out there to people that this was something I was doing, I probably would have punked out a long time ago. But instead, I followed through, did the chapter, submitted it, participated in some promo stuff, but didn't even participate in all the promo stuff that I could have. There's some stuff that I participated in that I didn't even share. And I'm saying, when I say I punked out like bad. Like, I owe y'all an apology for real, because those of you that bought the book, those of you that supported me and paid for the book, like, I've had these books since December. It is now March 20 something, and I have not mailed these books out to people, and I'm not proud of that. But I feel like I needed to be honest, and I feel like I needed to tell people kind of where my head was at with it, and apologize, frankly. Because y'all paid money. Y'all paid money for this book, and I got all these books sitting in a box in my house. And people have been asking me about the book. Listen, I'm trying to tell you, I'm not proud of this at all. Like, there's people that I literally just like have been ignoring, or just putting off and making excuses, straight up. And so that's just where I'm at. Like, I had so much like anxiety and insecurity about actually sending these out, and worrying about, like, what are people going to say? What are people going to think? Are people not going to understand? I don't want people to think I have ulterior motives with respect to the content and who it's about. And I don't think it helped that I have faced some persecution from certain people with respect to the content. So, between my own insecurities and just me getting in my head and other things that are going on in my life, like, I fell way off with the podcast, and I had made up my mind that when I started the podcast back up, I would have to address this issue. Like, I knew I couldn't just come back and not address the issue of the book. So, again, all of y'all that supported me, I apologize. I took your money. I haven't sent you the product. I am in the process right now of signing these books like I said I would, and then getting them out in the mail this weekend. So y'all can hold me accountable for that. And if you haven't bought the book, as intimidated and as insecure as I have been about it, go to HamptonConway.com. I've got extra copies. Buy the book, and I promise I will send you the book. It is 3:46 in the morning right now. The reason it's 3:46 in the morning, I'm doing this at 3:46 in the morning, because I'm really pushing myself to do this. I've been putting this off for a long time. I've sat down to do this and had this conversation for quite some time, and just for whatever. I mean, I just kept punking out. Like I said, like, I'm just being straight up. Like, I just kept punking out, and God has really convicted me about that. I had a devotional recently that I read last week, and one of the things it was focusing on was trust, and it was actually, saying, what I appreciate about this particular devotional is, like, each day's devotional is as if God is speaking to you. It's like from God's voice, God's perspective. And so this particular day was telling me, God was telling me that I need to trust him. And I was kind of like, well, if you were just to ask me off the cuff, like, hey, do you trust God? I'd be like, yeah, of course I trust God. But after I read that devotional, and there's some other there's some other interesting facts around that devotional on that particular day that I don't think I'm at liberty to share yet, but maybe I'll be able to come back around to it. But I knew that devotional was very poignant at the time that I was reading it. So I'm like, okay, Lord, you obviously trying to tell me something, right? You're telling me to trust you. So if you're telling me to trust you, then I must not be doing a good job of trusting you. So I'll tell you what, and this was my prayer. I was actually riding my bicycle that day, and I'm riding and I'm just praying, talking to God, and I'm like, okay, Lord, tell you what, you're telling me to trust you. Tell me what trusting you looks like for me. Like, that's what I need you to tell me. What does trusting you look like for me? And he answered my question. Like, I'm telling y'all, like, I don't know if you ever had a situation where you just could hear God very clearly. He said, trusting me looks like obedience. And I was like, ooh, okay. Okay. He's like, trusting me looks like obedience. It looks like you doing the things that I called you to do. Trusting me looks like you doing the things that you are afraid to do. Trusting me looks like you acting on all the imaginations and visions and creative ideas that you've been having because I'm the one that put them in your head in the first place. And he really made it plain because he was like, why wouldn't you do what a loving, caring, merciful, gracious, all powerful, all knowing God asks you to do? Why wouldn't you do something that someone with those qualities asked you to do? Because you don't trust me. That's how he was talking to me, yo. I swear this is how this conversation went. That's how he was talking to me. And, you know, I even thought about it in like human terms, right? Like, there's certain people in my life that if they were to call me and be like, hey, I need you to go to such and such a place and do such and such a thing. Or I'm in need. I need you to come down to this spot and do A, B, and C. Like, I'm there, no questions asked. Straight up. Like, there's certain people in my life, because I have the relationship I have with them, like, I'm there, no questions asked. It's a done deal. I'm hopping in the car. I'm out. But when God says, hey, I need you to do A, B, and C. I need you to go here and do X, Y, and Z. Now I got questions. Like, Lord, you know I can't afford to do that. Or, how long you want me to go over there? You want me to do this now? Like, now you want me to do this? Like, I don't give God the same respect or the same courtesy that I give my human friends. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, okay, God's been there for me more than anybody. Yet I'm still in the place where he calling me to do certain things and ask me to do certain things, and I still hesitate. Or I straight up don't do it. Or there's certain things he tell me not to do that I still do. Oh boy. Yeah. That's what he told me. And that is very significant for me because, um, in 2021, my goal was actually to act on all the ideas and the creative ideas and different things God was calling me to or gave me ideas to do. And so the book and the podcast and a few other things were especially, things that I was kind of pushing myself to do and move forward with. And I just kind of fell off. Not kind of, I fell off. I let my insecurity is something that I've struggled with since I can remember. That's something like really I've battled with throughout my life since childhood. And I tried to compensate for my insecurities in different ways, and not always good ways or healthy ways. But lately, I'd say over the past few months, my insecurities have risen to new heights, and I've had to like sit back and be like, "Man, what's going on with you, man? What is happening with you?" And so, I talked to my therapist about it, and talked to my wife about it, and talked to some friends about it, and even as it relates to this book, for example, one of the things that a few friends have told me is like, "Yo, Hamp, you have a unique story. It's a story that people need to hear. It's a story that is powerful and can help change other people's perspectives and change their lives and help to provide freedom and transformation, huh? Right? Get fat. That's what we about." And so, what folks have told me, what my therapist has told me, what some friends have told me is like, this ain't something that, the devil wants out there in the world. Like, he's going to come at you hard to keep you from doing what God has called you to do, keep you from sharing what God is asking you to share. And I think the devil's way of doing that is really by getting in my head. Like, it ain't even gotta be other people saying stuff to me. Like, I let certain thoughts marinate in my mind to the point where I don't act. I become paralyzed by my own insecurities. And so, going back to the devotional, God telling me, like, trust in me looks like obedience. One of the things I had to come to grips with is I'm very feelings oriented. Like, I do consider myself an empath, but I also am a very, very motivated and driven by my feelings. That's not always a good thing, because if I don't feel like doing something, often I won't do it. And I'll be the first to admit that that's not the way to live. So I've gotten to a point. I used to think that if there was a certain task, for example, that I needed to do, then I was fearful about it or anxious about it, that I should wait for the anxiety and the fear to go away, or pray that the anxiety and fear go away. And then once it goes away, go ahead and do the thing. And that's not what God's telling me to do. God's telling me, go ahead and do the thing that you're supposed to do, and then the peace will come. Right? Do the act. Don't focus on your feelings. Do the thing despite your feelings. Do the thing despite your anxiety. Do the thing despite your insecurities. Because, this insecurity, anxiety, fear thing, it's not like an overnight thing that it just goes away, right? Like, it very well may be. Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm doing the thing now. Like, I'm doing this podcast right now. I'm still anxious about it. I still have insecurities about it. I'm just doing it anyway. I'm just forcing myself to do it anyway because I'm trying to be obedient. I'm trying to follow through what God told me to do. So that's where I'm at with this. It's interesting because thinking about insecurities, and what you'll learn once you read my chapter, there's a lot of things that I endured during my first marriage that have a lot to do with the fact that I took my insecurities into my first marriage. And that's part of the reason why some things played out the way they played out was because of my own insecurities, my own lack of self-worth, not valuing myself. And so I've grown. Let me say that I have definitely grown in some ways. Like I definitely have been able to establish certain boundaries that I didn't have before. I'm not going to compromise on certain things that I compromised on before. So while I still have insecurities, I also have grown. I also have learned, but there's still some stuff there that I need to work out, and I'm trying to work it out. So yeah, listen, that's where I am. Once again, I want to apologize to all the folks that I ghosted or haven't responded to, or it took forever to respond to, or that I responded to and still haven't come through with. Like, I'm just being super transparent right now, y'all. I am sorry. I'm going course correct. These books are getting signed and going out in the mail this weekend. I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your support. And yes, as insecure as I am about it, again, please go ahead and buy the book because I got some more copies sitting down here I need to sell. So y'all please go ahead and go to HamptonConway.com and buy this book. I really do pray that it blesses you. And mind you, my story ain't the only story in here there's other stories in here that will bless you, and will encourage you and will inspire you. So don't buy it just for me. Buy it for yourself because I do think you'll be inspired and encouraged by it. The few people that I did actually manage to get a copy to, responded very encouragingly, and so that helped. That helped me get over this hump. So I feel better that I'm actually doing the thing. Like, I've been putting this off so long, and I have much more content conversations for y'all, but I knew I had to have this conversation first. So if you're watching this on YouTube, do me a favor. Like this, subscribe to to my channel, but go to the comments and say welcome back. Show me some love or something. Just help me out here. Go to the comments and just say welcome back. And I'm going to try to get back on track and keep this going. So I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Again, it's me, HEC3. And I'm hoping to just give you a little something to chew on so you can get fat. So come on and get fat with me on the Get Fat podcast.